Through time travel, renowned surgeon Chen Anan became a married and refined young lady of the era. On a serious day, I just want to leave my rough husband and the long-awaited white moonlight to return to the city and enjoy happiness. In order to create a perfect match for the white moonlight, the couple became estranged, which was disliked by the husband's family and not loved by the mother's family. Bai Yueguang is a scumbag, so Chen Anan decided not to enter the river of love for the wise, to cross the first sword and first slay his beloved. She has a wealth of professional knowledge, has thrown away her love brain, and has started a new career to create glory, yet she is not easily caught. What should I do if my nominal husband is getting worse and worse? In the first month of meeting, Chen Anan. Husband, should we get divorced? Fu Huayan. Leave. I'll leave when I come back from the mission. 1 year after the mission, Chen Anan. Husband, should we get divorced? Fu Huayan. Li, wait for my task to end. After completing the 3-year mission, Chen Anan pondered with a heavy stomach. Is this marriage still divorced? Keywords of the novel. Era as a refined young lady, leading a rough man to become rich without a pop-up window. Era as a refined young lady, leading a rough man to become rich. Download the complete TXT collection, Era as a refined young lady, leading a rough man to become rich. Latest chapters for reading. Chapter 1. Married. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Married. Chen Anan got off the train. Carrying a military green backpack, there were also 2 large bags on his arm. It's a bit difficult to move a single step. As I walked out of the station, I saw 2 young men in iconic uniforms holding signs and anxiously looking at the crowd as they walked out. The card bears Chen Anan's name. Hurriedly walked up and waved his hand. But she didn't even call out her name. It was mainly 2 people, and she didn't know which one was her husband Fu Huayan. This awkward situation is because she crossed into this body, although the owner of the body is also named Chen Anan, who is only 20 years old and already a married woman. And her husband Fu Huayan works in the construction of a confidential unit. I heard there is a quota for a group of family members this time. Her husband Fu Huayan applied for her to come here by train. Chen Anan wore it directly onto the original owner's body on the train. She had little knowledge of the original owner's memories, and was able to know about these situations because she carried a letter of introduction and gossip from surrounding family members. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to grasp the basic situation. Of course, she was not given time to search for valuable clues. Seriously speaking, Chen Anan traveled to the year 70 and became a proud family member. Chen Anan obediently followed everyone to get off the car because he knew that it was difficult to walk without a letter of introduction, tickets and money, and even more so without a household registration. If you want to go out and work, earn some money, and live independently, don't even think about it. Teach you how to be a good person every minute. Independent women cannot survive here. In this situation, she can only honestly follow everyone to come here. But as soon as she left the station, she faced a serious problem. She was not the original owner and did not know her husband Fu Huayan. If you mistake someone, it would be awkward. The greatest blessing is that her name is written on the paper sign, so that she won't be unable to find anyone. But what's even more awkward is that 2 people are coming to pick up the person in front of me. Both are young comrades, in their 20s and 40s, with upright facial features and a handsome appearance. No matter how you look at them, they are all the cutest people. The problem is that she can't distinguish them either. Just as she hesitated, she was pleasantly surprised to see a young comrade walking up. He enthusiastically took 2 bags and backpacks from her hand. Chen Anan felt a sense of joy in his heart, as it took no effort to obtain it. So it's this one. Chen Anan was about to open her mouth and call Fu Huayan's name, but in fact, she also called it out. Fu Huayan. Next second, sister-in-law, you have come. What about? Chen Anan calmly corrected the mistake just now. Our captain has sent us both to pick you up. The captain is on a mission and will not be here this month. Let's take you home first. Sister-in-law, have you been tired all the way? My surname is Wu and my name is Wu Jigang. You can call me Xiao Wu. Sister-in-law, my surname is Lu and my name is Lu Qingyun. You call me Xiao Lu. Another young man warmly welcomed him. Chen Anan calmly hooked the corner of his mouth and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Fortunately, God knows that speaking slowly can turn danger into safety. She is really a little clever. Chen Anan's face showed a reserved smile, and from just now until now, the heart she had been carrying finally came to rest. Her cheap husband didn't show up, giving her a chance to buffer. Xiao Wu, Xiao Lu, thank you for coming to pick me up. Sister-in-law, how could you be so polite? The captain has instructed me that I will definitely take you back safely. If the captain is not here, what do you need? You can go directly to the team to find me. Two young comrades brought Chen Anan directly outside. As a result, I saw a big truck. There are many young girls and daughter-in-law getting on the car, and it seems that they are not picking up Chen Anan alone. They should have picked up all these people by chance. Wu Jigang smiled and put Chen Anan's luggage in the driver's seat in front. Their big truck is 4-seater. Sister-in-law, please get in the car. But we'll have to wait a bit. There are many people to pick up today, so we can all pick everyone up before we leave. Chen Anan tightly wrapped the scarf and waved his hand instead. I'll sit in the back. Everyone is in the back. It's not suitable for me to sit in the front. I am a newcomer, and I am not familiar with the place or anyone. If you come, you will become a leading bird. It's not because you sincerely want to find something unpleasant for yourself. Besides, being with Wu Jigang and the others made a lot of mistakes. For future considerations, the rear carriage is safer. Before Wu Jigang could say anything, Chen Anan quickly climbed onto the back carriage. The girl above reached out and gave a very peaceful hand. Your man is an official, isn't he? You are really lucky and won't enjoy it. You are not willing to be asked to sit in front of him. Do you know how cold the wind is outside? It will take at least 5 hours to sit in the back and blow all the way. At that time, people can freeze stiff upon hearing these words. Chen Anan knew that the girl in front of him must have been experienced before. With the girl's hand, she got into the car and patted the dirt on her body, then sat beside the girl. My surname is Chen and my name is Chen Anan. What about you? What's your name? My surname is Lu and my name is Lu Yume. My man is also from our reclamation area, named Gao Dezhuang. Lu Yume is a straightforward person who even handed over her own secrets at once. My man is Fu Huayan, the captain of the reclamation area. Chen Anan learned from Lu Yume in front of her and also made a self-introduction. Oh my, your man is Captain Fu. Lu Yume looked up and down at Chen Anan, causing her to feel a bit embarrassed. No one has ever looked at her so directly. Ordinary people, even if they have some thoughts in their hearts, would secretly scrutinize each other when they see them. How could they have seen someone so straight-eyed? What's wrong? Why do you look at me like that? I heard that your family is wealthy in the city, and I also heard that you are going to divorce Captain Fu. I didn't expect you to come over again. This place is really tough, haven't you heard of it? Did Captain Fu not tell you that this place is barren and barren? You have a pampered little face, and I don't know how this was spread. Don't argue with Captain Fu. Captain Fu is a good person. Chen Anan silently touched his face. Not to mention, the original owner's face is indeed very outstanding. Chen Anan had looked in the mirror of the train restroom, and the original owner in the mirror was tall and at least 1.68 meters tall, with fair and beautiful skin. Liu eyebrows, almond eyes, those pair of eyes are black, shiny, and lively. A tall and straight nose bridge, rosy lips, with a southern woman's gentleness, but exuding a northern woman's heroic spirit. I don't know what kind of background the original owner's family came from, but so far she has no memory and can't rummage through her luggage in the car. The genes are definitely good. Now, considering what everyone is saying about Chen Anan, it seems that she is a very refined young lady. You have to carry this pot, even if you don't carry it. I can only smile. Everyone doesn't say that if you marry a chicken, follow the chicken, if you marry a dog, follow the dog. If I marry Captain Fu, I naturally have to follow him. No matter how hard it is, I don't care. Where my home is in Huayan, naturally I am there. What's causing a divorce? That's all nonsense. My old master is very rare to me, how could I be willing to divorce someone else for the better? Didn't my mind go crazy? What he said immediately attracted the attention of many people around him. I thought it was a young lady from the city, but I didn't expect her to speak so down to earth. I didn't expect Xiao Chen and Captain Fu to have such a good relationship. Captain Fu is really lucky. Captain Fu is indeed good looking and has a good waist. Captain Fu is the most famous leader in the team. You're lucky to marry Captain Fu. You have to keep an eye on your old master. I heard that those young women are all staring at Captain Fu with wide eyes. This statement won the favor of the majority of people. Many people have started to stand on Chen Anan's side. Wu Jigang and Xiao Lu, who were standing under the car helping to pass their luggage up, had smiles on their faces. It is said that the captain usually has a cold and unfriendly face, but I didn't expect the captain's wife to be so approachable, and the captain's wife is really kind to the captain. They are all envious of these bachelors, especially the captain's wife who is so beautiful, making people feel a little uneasy at first glance. It's like carrying a little rabbit in my arms, jumping with a thud. Even they envied the captain for marrying a good wife. It only took a while for Chen Anan to get along with these people in the car. Everyone knows the name. It can be considered a familiar face. Chen Anan has quickly integrated into this big family. The car was driving all the way, and when the north wind blew, Chen Anan finally realized that what Lu Yumei had just said was not a joke. It's freezing now. This wind seems to blow into the bones. The frozen person trembled all over. Even if everyone is pushing hard together, they can't stand such a blow. Although there was a shed on the back carriage, everyone's face was still pale with cold. After shaking for over 5 hours, we finally arrived at our destination. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. No buildings. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. No buildings. After the car stopped, when Chen Anan got off the car, his legs were weak and he almost knelt down on both knees. Standing still, Chen Anan had time to look around and his face turned even whiter. She imagined that life would be difficult in the 1970s, but did not expect that life here would be so difficult. The place they are going should be the living area of their families. The house is a bit messy. There are 20 or 30 houses in a row, and they are built in rows and rows in front of me. The house is not a brick and tile house, but a adobe house. Looking from outside, the earth-brown walls have been exposed to wind and sun, leaving countless traces of wind and frost. Although there is a courtyard outside, the walls are not high, and people standing outside can see everything in the courtyard. Chen Anan bit his teeth. As a well-known surgeon, she usually lives on her own large floor of over 200 square meters. Quiet, comfortable, and modern. There's nothing left now. Xiao Wu, is this it? We don't have any buildings here. The Guanzi Tower is the oldest house she has ever heard of, with its age placed there. As an only child, Chen Anan really didn't know what that era was like. After hearing these words, Wu Jigang had a slight displeasure on his face. While helping Chen Anan carry her luggage, he directly took her to a small courtyard. As he spoke, "Sister-in-law, the conditions here are not good. This courtyard is a small courtyard with a single family in courtyard. Your doorstep is Vice Captain Chow's home, which is already the best condition that can be obtained. Other families have to have a few yards in 3 or 4 households. There is really no building, our team leader still lives in a dungeon. Don't argue with the captain. This house was finally acquired by the captain. The captain is a good person, please treat him well. As he spoke, he pushed open the courtyard door. The tone of those words behind really puzzled Chen Anan. It seems that there is a deep resentment towards oneself. Is she so bad to Fu Huaiyan? Do outsiders know? This Chen Anan is obviously very unpopular. Chen Anan followed behind and walked into a small courtyard with 2 rooms. The house is not big, there is a small kitchen outside. Fortunately, this is a unique courtyard, which overall saves a lot of trouble. When I entered the house, I saw that it was neatly tidied up, which is a unique earthen Kong in the north. I haven't slept before, I've seen it on TV. There are also some simple furniture, quaint and bulky, which seems to have been prepared in advance by her husband whom she had never met before. Entering the room, one can feel the temperature, and the earthen Kong has already been heated up in advance. I have already filled the water tank at Sister.in.law's doorstep for you. If there is anything missing, please let me know directly. Wu Jigang put his luggage on the Kong, took out a stack of money and tickets from his pocket, and placed them on the table. What is Xiao Wu doing? Sister-in-law, this is what the captain asked me to give to you. He said if you feel short or lacking, you can buy it yourself. Wu Jigang put it down and ran away. If Sister.in.law needs anything else, just go to the front team and let them know, and someone will come to help. Sister.in.law, then I'll leave first. Xiao Wu, Sister.in.law, thank you. When your captain returns, Sister.in.law will treat you to dinner. Wu Jigang smiled and waved his hand, quickly leaving. His ears were a bit red, and his Sister.in.law was beautiful. His words were sincere but quite polite. Chen Anan closed the courtyard door and inserted it inside before returning to the room. Now that I am alone, I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. The main house is built on a large Kong against the wall, which is heated up. The house is not bad, it's a north-south house. Now that the sunlight is shining, the room is also warm and cozy. She went around the next door again, which was also considered a study room, but there was also a earthen Kong here. After flipping through things, I realized something seemed wrong. The wardrobe here was filled with men's clothes, all in uniform. It was obvious that these clothes belonged to Fu Huaiyan. In theory, they are husband and wife, and Fu Huaiyan's clothes should be placed in the next room, but it is obvious that there is no Fu Huaiyan's belongings in the next room. On the contrary, she found mirrors, snow cream, combs and other things on the table, clearly prepared for herself. I suddenly had a guess in my heart that these two were sleeping in separate rooms. It seems there's something else going on here, but she can't guess what it is. I went to the kitchen again and looked around. Although it was small, it was clean and didn't seem to be cooking here as usual. There are 2 bags of grain in the cabinet, one bag should weigh 30.40 pounds of white flour, and the other bag is corn flour. There are pots, bowls, ladles, pots, and various seasonings available. However, according to the degree of freshness, it can be seen that it has just been arranged and placed here. That's right. When the original owner didn't come, Captain Fu must have lived in the dormitory and ate in the cafeteria, so there was no need to cook for himself. It seems that Captain Fu only arranged these things after knowing that the original owner had arrived. From the things prepared, it can be seen that Captain Fu has put a lot of effort into it. He is a careful and considerate person, but I don't know why these two of them sleep separately. Chen Anan is somewhat satisfied with this. Anyway, sleeping in different rooms is a very suitable state for her current self. She still can't lie in the same bed with a stranger. Go back and tidy up your luggage. The originally uneasy mood has calmed down a bit with the changes felt at this moment. Put the clothes into the box. I opened my handbag again, which contained some books and a diary. Surprisingly, Chen Anan was surprised to discover 2 medical books. She is a doctor. If the original owner reads these medical books, then it will be natural for them to understand medical skills. No good girl is willing to read such boring books as medical books, which only indicates that the original owner's family may have people in this area. I was organizing things, but more than 10 letters fell from my diary. After reading these letters one by one, Chen Anan can roughly trace the life context of the original owner. Chen Anan was born into a medical family. His grandfather is Chen Xiangnan, a famous master of acupuncture and moxibustion in traditional Chinese medicine. His father, Chen Hanchun, also inherited his father's career, but his father followed the path of a surgeon. Chen Anan's mother is the head nurse of the hospital. Uncle and aunt are also famous surgeons, but the 2 of them went abroad due to their reasons, which caused their families to be affected. This is also why Chen Anan was able to meet Captain Fu. The village where Chen Anan was sent to work is Captain Fu's village. Chen Anan, a girl who was pampered and raised in the city, went to the countryside where she suffered such a crime. After the hard work, Chen Anan couldn't bear it and ran straight to the reservoir to jump into the river. Rescued by Captain Fu, who returned to the village to visit relatives. The 2 have a skin-to-skin relationship. In these days, the people are simple and helpless, and Chen Anan is unwilling and can only agree to marry Captain Fu. 2 people have obtained marriage certificates. Chen Anan, on the other hand, was arrogant and restless, wanting Captain Fu to find a way for her to find connections and return to the city. But no matter how much fuss, it's not someone who wants to go back to the city. The result was that Chen Anan had to come here with Fu Huaiyan, and on the way, he probably couldn't bear it and died in depression. She just put it on. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Burning the Kitchen. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Burning the Kitchen. Chen Anan put all these things away and put them in the box. I have a rough idea in my heart. The couple lives in separate rooms, and Chen Anan has a childhood friend named Su Wenming in the city. Chen Anan, who was proud, felt reluctant to marry a rough man. Chen Anan could guess in his heart that Captain Fu was probably not someone willing to force others. The couple only became in this seemingly detached state. But regardless of which one, the current state should be the most suitable for oneself. The water in their well does not flow into the river. Chen Anan tidied up the room and felt a bit worried. It's too cold outside. On this extremely cold day, besides flour and seasoning, there's not even a little baby food in the kitchen. And now that the sky is already dark, the earthen stove is not sure if it can live. God knows that even the 80s generation of the 2 ethnic group in the city has never given birth to such a local stove. I have never learned this way of living by burning firewood. Chen Anan was already starving, his heart pressed against his back. He wandered on the train for a day and a night, and on the way, there was no water or rice in. It was unbearable for a normal person. I searched the room but there was no ready-made food. Chen Anan poured a teapot of plain water from a thermos and sat there worrying. I feel a bit nostalgic for the double-door refrigerator in my big flat. It's no use thinking about it. The ready-made items stored in the refrigerator can't be eaten at all. Although Chen Anan spends most of his time in the hospital, he basically has to work 18 hours a day. There are 6 hours left to rest and eat together. Basically very nervous. Eating is usually done in the hospital cafeteria, and sometimes takeout is also ordered. Whenever resting, Chen Anan is willing to cook something by himself. But that was also under the condition of having materials, and now there's nothing left. Let her empty-handed cover the white wolf and just make white noodles to eat. I can't even see an egg in the kitchen. A clever woman cannot cook without rice. Chen Anan swallowed his saliva and couldn't rely on drinking water to carry it hard. He didn't know how to cook a stove, so he had to give it a try himself. She is a medical doctor known as a genius, and she doesn't believe it can be difficult. I went to the kitchen and carefully inspected it for half a day. The principles of physics combined with structure roughly sorted out a sequence. Theoretical knowledge seems to pass the test, but now there is only practical experience left. I looked at the pile of firewood in the yard and then at my clothes. Chen Anan is somewhat disdainful, she has a serious cleanliness fetish. Even if you have become a woman in the 1970s, you must ensure that you have good living habits. But there are no gloves here, and there is no sterile clothing that can be photographed together from top to bottom. Chen Anan had to search in the kitchen for a while before finally finding an apron from the cabinet. Although this apron looks a bit tacky, it should be a patchwork apron made up of various pieces of cloth by someone unknown. The only thing that made her sigh was that the apron was only half length and could only be tied around her waist. After pondering for a while, Chen Anan couldn't bear the idea that his whole body was dirty. Returning to his own room, he rummaged through the boxes and cabinets for a long time, and found a torn and old piece of clothing with many patches. Of course, the original owner of the clothes also washed them clean and tidy. Flip the clothes over, cover the two sleeves, and place the button side behind the back. Then tie the apron around your waist to create a simple protective suit. Fortunately, the gloves were dug out from the neighboring room. It's better than nothing. After Chen Anan fully armed himself, he ran to the yard and picked firewood of the same size, with almost no difference in length. I just carried it into the stove. 10 minutes later, Chen Anan burst out the door. The thick smoke was billowing in the kitchen, not only making it difficult to stand in the house, but also in the yard. Chen Anan had not yet reacted. Someone has already broken into the door. Is this on fire? Someone rushed in with a bucket, splashing 2 buckets of water, and the thick smoke in the room dissipated. There are 2 or 3 women standing in the yard, some holding children, some holding iron buckets, and some holding wash basins. Seeing the woman walking out of the room, others asked one after another, "How's it going? Has the fire been extinguished?" The man's face was covered in black smoke, and his facial features were indistinct. Glancing at Chen Anan with an indescribable expression. "You almost burned the kitchen, did you know?" "Comrade, my name is Chen Anan. I'm sorry, I didn't expect." She can say that her practical experience has failed. Not even a fire was lit. Alright, don't say you're sorry. In the future, we need to pay attention to this situation. All of our dormitories are built in rows. If one of your households catches fire, other households will also be affected. Thanks to discovering it early this time, if we were to set fire to other households a little later, no one would be able to bear this responsibility. The man held the bucket in his hand and looked up and down at Chen Anan inexplicably. The other women, seeing Chen Anan's attire, couldn't help but purse their mouths and enjoy themselves there. "Oh, this female comrade, what are you doing? How do you dress up so strangely?" Chen Anan looked up and down. A calm and composed answer. "I'm afraid it might get dirty by starting a fire." A group of women around immediately burst into laughter. "Oh my, girl, you're really good. Whoever started a fire and dressed up like you?" At first glance, it seems that the city people are very wealthy, even starting a fire is afraid of dirtying their clothes. But he's not on the same side as us. It's not true. I've been on fire all the way, almost setting the house on fire. Our team is also famous this time. If you have a ridiculous name, you can throw someone to death. Chen Anan was just about to refute that he didn't mean to. Besides, if the house really burns down, she cannot afford to die without saving it. However, in her panic at the time, she didn't know where the water tank was and didn't have time to react. The man who just put out the fire has already knocked on the iron bucket with his hand. Alright, everyone has nothing to do and chews his wife's tongue here. Hurry up and go back to your own homes. Why don't you take care of the children and cook for your men? Obviously, this man has authority here. Upon hearing these words, the women dispersed one after another. The man was about to walk out with a bucket, but Chen Anan quickly said. Comrade, what's your surname? I haven't thanked you for your help just now. When our old master comes back, I need him to go to our house specifically to thank you. After hearing these words, the man looked at Chen Anan with even more strange eyes. Chen Anan, you don't have to intentionally humiliate me in this way. If it weren't for the convoy on the mission passing by here, I would have. You can do it yourself. The man turned around and left. Chen Anan chased after him, and the man got on a large truck in the distance, which quickly swept away. Suddenly, there was a feeling of unease, as if something had gone wrong. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Saving People. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Saving People. Before Chen Anan could figure it out, he suddenly heard crying coming from a distance. Help, help. Xiao Zhao, please lend me your bicycle as soon as possible. My son has fainted and foamed at the mouth. I need to take him to the hospital. Xiao Zhao, are you at home? With heart-wrenching cries, a group of people rushed towards this side. A woman was carrying a boy on her back, and a group of people rushed towards the opposite yard. A loud knocking came from across the door. As soon as Chen Anan heard foaming at the mouth, he immediately perked up. This is due to an occupational disease. But whenever I hear a patient's condition, I rush out immediately. A middle-aged woman with a dark complexion, holding a 12-year-old boy in her arms, was desperately knocking on the door. The onlookers couldn't bear it, so they hugged each other and knocked on the door. Xiao Zhao, are you at home? Is Xiao Zhao not at home? Impossible, I just saw her come back. A girl in her 20s next to her shouted with some indignation. Everyone immediately turned pale, and everyone knew that the deputy captain's lover, Xiao Zhao, was their elementary school music teacher. I heard that they come from a cadre family background, and when they come here, their nose is not their nose, and their face is not their face. They look down on their neighbors in various ways. Eyes grow up to the top of the head. It's not easy to get along with anyone. But today is a special situation, the child has an accident. If it weren't for this critical situation, people wouldn't want to seek help from Xiao Zhao's door. Daughter. Law of the army, why don't you knock on the door? Hurry up and run to the medical room with your child in your arms when you have time. It's not a problem to keep delaying like this. At this moment, the child in the woman's arms suddenly rolled her eyes and stopped breathing. The woman holding the child felt the child in her arms soften, startled, and touched the child's breath. With a flip of her eyes, the woman and her child fell to the ground. Everyone was startled. What's going on here? Among the people pinching people. I touched the child's breath and realized that he had no pulse. The child is out of breath. For a moment, everyone's face turned pale. They were all mothers, and even if they didn't see such a tragic situation in the world, they couldn't bear it. After saying so much, it actually didn't take 10 seconds to add it all together. When Chen Anan rushed out, he happened to see the woman lying on the ground come over and cry loudly. De Yong, how could you die? What should your mother do if you die? Take your mother with you. My great courage. Chen Anan rushed up and touched the pulse of the child on the ground with his hand. Although her pulse appeared to be completely absent, she pressed hard near the large artery in her neck. Can feel faint tremors. This is acute shock. Sister-in-law, stop crying and let go of the child first. Chen Anan felt a headache from the noise. A loud shout startled the crying De Yong. The crying was scared back and I belched twice in a row. Hiccup. Who are you? What are you doing? Chen Anan picked up the child and laid it flat on the ground. My name is Chen Anan, the child is still alive. Chen Anan folded his left and right hands and pressed them against the child's chest. Press down heavily. The upper arm forms a 90-degree right angle. De Yongyang wiped away her tears and asked with a hopeful expression on her face, "Is there really a way to save it? You have to give it a try whether there is any rescue or not." Chen Anan would never tell patients that there must be rescue, and as a doctor, one must take responsibility. Two women next to him suddenly recognized Chen Anan. "Isn't this the woman who cooked the kitchen just now? Even if you start a fire, you have to dress up strangely. Is it reliable that women in this city can cure illnesses? Don't be like starting a fire. What if we cure De Yong at any cost?" De Yongyang became anxious upon hearing these words. "You, let go of my son. We don't want you to treat him anymore." Chen Anan was fully focused and continued his hand movements. "This sister.in.law, the child is in a critical condition now. I won't joke about human life. I am a doctor." De Yongyang hesitated for a moment, should she believe the woman in front of her or not. At this moment, I only heard the tightly closed courtyard door open. "What are you crying and howling here? If the child is sick, hurry up and take him to the hospital. What's the point of being in front of our door? If I lose my temper later, it's not intentional to bring bad luck to my family." A woman standing at the door wearing a sweater and plaid skirt, with long wavy hair permed. A single word can easily offend everyone. At this moment, De Yongyang, who had not yet recovered, rushed over directly upon hearing these words. "I'll tear your mouth apart, dare you curse my son? Why did you throw a tantrum at my house? What does it mean I cursed your son? Your own son is clearly out of breath, and it wasn't me who killed him." The wave-haired woman who opened the door screamed and retreated backwards. "Xiao Zhao, you said your mouth. Did you speak like that?" The women watching nearby couldn't bear to watch and hurriedly came up to fight, mainly because De Yongyang was a rural farmer with a lot of strength and really wanted to tear it apart. "The 10 little Zhao in front of me are not enough to fight. But this little Zhao is the lover of Vice Captain Chao, and if we really hit him, it will be difficult to explain later." Many people stepped forward one after another. At this moment, only the sound of the child's cough could be heard. Cough cough. Everyone stopped moving and shouting, turned their heads and looked over, only seeing the child who had not breathed just now. At this moment, his face turned red and he was coughing in pain. De Yongyang had long forgotten to tear up Xiao Zhao's matter and turned around in surprise and joy, wanting to hug her son. However, she was held down by Chen Anan. "Don't move now, does the child have epilepsy?" Upon hearing this, De Yongyang became even more convinced and nodded repeatedly, saying, "Yes, yes, the child has epilepsy, which happens from time to time. Take the child to my room first. I can give him acupuncture and moxibustion to ease his condition." Chen Anan glanced and saw that his own home was the closest. "In winter, you can't take off your clothes for your child here. After acupuncture and moxibustion, your child may catch cold." Upon hearing this, everyone quickly grabbed their hands and carried the child into Chen Anan's house. Chen Anan pulled over the brand new mattress and put it on without hesitation. Others hesitated when they saw this scene. Chen Anan had to wrap himself up and down to start a fire, and he had never seen someone wearing gloves to start a fire. Is this still the woman who looks delicate and delicate? The child is now foaming at the mouth and lying on someone else's new mattress, which will definitely be wasted. If they do, they may have to hesitate for a moment. Put the child on top. Chen Anan didn't even hesitate for a moment. "Which elder sister would you do me a favor? Go and burn some hot water. I will give the child acupuncture and moxibustion, and you will clean it up." Chen Anan couldn't find any cork stoppers or gauze, and the child was convulsing now, afraid of biting his tongue. Chen Anan could only forcefully insert his 2 fingers into the child's mouth. The child, trembling all over and foaming at the mouth, took a fierce bite. The Daongniang on the side felt a little sorry for Chen Anan. Doctor, I'll do it. Use my hands, your hands still need treatment. Chen Anan nodded, and Daongniang's finger replaced her own. She hurriedly pulled out the acupuncture and moxibustion bag from her luggage, thanks to the fact that the original owner was a medical student. Carry this thing with you. We are a combination of traditional Chinese and Western medicine, and can be considered experts in all aspects. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. The Importance of Poverty. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. The Importance of Poverty. Isn't this Captain Fu's house? Are you Captain Fu's lover, girl? Daongniang suddenly woke up. Yes, I am Captain Fu's lover. My name is Chen Anan, you can call me Xiao Chen. Chen Anan took out alcohol to disinfect the silver needle. There are two people who are familiar with Daongniang left. Stay behind and help, just in time to go to the kitchen to boil water. What's going on? I heard that Captain Fu's lover is a city woman who is particularly delicate, poor and clean, and despises Captain Fu. What should I do if you lower your voice and let Xiao Chen hear you? I see that Xiao Chen is not like that person. You see, he is kind and friendly, and he stands up and acts bravely. I don't look like it either, but our team is really good at passing. I heard that this woman doesn't even want to live a good life with Captain Fu. Every time Captain Fu goes back, he always tries to get divorced. I have also heard that it is said that Captain Fu's lover has someone outside, who has a nose and an eye. At that time, I was still defending Captain Fu against injustice, but now, no matter how you look at Xiao Chen, he doesn't seem like a fickle person. Just met the first person, what can you see? Knowing people knows face but not heart, let's take a closer look. Captain Fu is such a nice person. My son had encephalitis at the time, and it was Captain Fu who carried him to the hospital overnight, otherwise everyone would have gone. I hope Captain Fu can marry a good wife, who knows both cold and hot, and don't suffer himself anymore. At first glance, Chen Anan looks like a delicate young lady. Didn't you see that she almost cleaned up the kitchen today? Also, look at her strange-looking clothes. We are not on the same side. Alright, stop talking, let's hurry and boil water. Chen Anan had no idea that she was the captain's daughter-in-law who didn't want to live a good life, just like everyone else said. Focusing on the work at hand. Xiao Chen, thank you today. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't even know what to do with the child. There are still 2 miles away from the medical room. I don't know if the child will be angry when we get there. I was really flustered just now. Sister, please don't talk yet, let me carefully locate the acupoints. Chen Anan spoke gently, his calm and composed language immediately calmed the trembling Daongniang in front of her. Okay, I won't say anything, I won't say anything. Watching 13 needles pierced into the child's back, one could see the child gradually calming down. The convulsions and trembling all over her body had disappeared, and the most obvious thing was that Daongniang could feel her son's grip on her fingers gradually slackening. The expression on her face was so happy that she couldn't hide it. She was so excited that she didn't know how to thank Dr. Chen. She is most familiar with her son's situation. For so many years, each time there are only a few hours, and she can't recover at all. And that all needs to be taken to the hospital for a drop shot. Okay, it will take half an hour. Chen Anan wiped the sweat off his head. Her face shook pale and almost fell, thanks to a nearby elder sister who quickly helped her. Xiao Chen, what's wrong with you? Chen Anan quietly avoided the elder sister's hand, which was their professional habit. Shake your head. It's okay, I might be a bit hungry. Just eat something later, don't worry about me. Dark in front of me, clearly indicating hypoglycemia. The elder sister next to her smiled and said. Xiao Chen, I just arrived by train. I'm sure I haven't eaten or drunk yet. I'm busy saving people now. I wonder if I don't feel dizzy. My family has just steamed mantou. I'll get you too. Before Chen Anan refused to turn around, he left. Big sister, no. De Yongyang watched her son breathe steadily and didn't foam at the mouth. Finally, I regained my composure and was able to pay attention to everything around me. Dr. Chen, thank you. You are a capable person, please don't worry. Guizhi is our neighbor, and we have a good relationship. You can pad the mantou she just steamed. There's no time to make a cold pot or a cold stove. Dr. Chen is the life-saving benefactor of their family. At this moment, in the eyes of De Yongyang, Chen Anan seems like a bodhisattva descending from the sky. Not to mention two mantou, now I would like to cut my own meat to Chen Anan. Sister, don't say that. Saving people is what I should do. We don't want to accept gifts. For so many years, I have confiscated red envelopes while performing surgeries on patients in hospitals. Xiao Chen, you are treating us as outsiders now. What is this called receiving gifts? It's just going to the hospital for medical treatment. Is it necessary to charge for registration and medical expenses? What's more, you saved our Dayong's life. What are two mantou? Even if you are a neighbor, what can we say if you eat a mantou? The sister-in-law who was boiling water in the kitchen had already brought in a basin of hot water using a basin. Xiao Chen, the hot water is ready. Let me give De Yong a scrub. Bring the basin over and stir it with your hands. Chen Anan glanced at his sister-in-law's pitch-black hands, and even the nails were covered in grease. Sister-in-law, I have soap here. Please wash your hands clean with soap and wash them like I do. Chen Anan demonstrated the standard hand-washing procedure to the sister-in-law in front of her. The sister-in-law's face turned black, and she couldn't help but curl her lips. Xiao Chen, you're too poor and particular. There are so many different ways to wash your hands. Alright, then I don't care. It's not enough. De Yongyang, leave it to you, I'll go back. We rural people don't even know how to wash their hands. Really, what kind of person is that? The sister-in-law turned around and left cursing. Chen Anan's hand stiffened on the spot. De Yongyang quickly said. Xiao Chen, don't mind. We all come from the countryside and don't know your way. How about you teach me how to wash my hands? I don't know where to put my hands and feet. After following Chen Anan to wash her hands, even De Yongyang couldn't help but mutter to herself that Xiao Chen was too particular. It's not easy to say anything. Half an hour later, Daong had fully regained consciousness and recovered. The 12-year-old child looks a bit shy, so put on your clothes now. Sister, how long has the child been in this situation? As soon as Chen Anan saw the patient, he couldn't restrain his determination to give treatment. This child has been scared out of this condition since being bitten by their family dog at the age of 8. De Yongyang sighed and gently touched her son's head with her hand. Sister, if you bring your child over every 3 days, I will give them an injection. The child's condition is not congenital, it can be treated. Chen Anan's 13 wind-chasing needles are ancestral. They are ancient acupuncture and moxibustion techniques passed down from his grandfather's grandfather to the imperial court from generation to generation. I still have confidence that this epilepsy can be treated. Upon hearing this, De Yongyang's face showed an incredulous expression, and they looked at many doctors. All the doctors replied to them that this disease is not easy to treat and may take a lifetime with the child. Which parent cannot be in a hurry when a child has this problem? All the money in the family is spent on the children. But there was no effect at all. The new Captain Fu's lover actually claims to be able to cure it. Xiao Chen, can it really be treated? Sister, don't worry, I said I will definitely cure you if I can, but it will take a long time and a total of 3 months of injections are needed. Children may suffer a bit, you need to do a good job of ideological work for them. Acupuncture and moxibustion is not a magic skill that can cure the disease at once, and the process of this treatment is long and painful. A 12-year-old child is afraid they can't stand it. Not afraid. We are not afraid of any punishment. As long as we can cure it, you can rest assured. Xiao Chen, our son, is very obedient. You can do whatever you want. De Yongyang is about to kneel down for Chen Anan as she pulls the child. Hurry up, kneel down and kowtow to Dr. Chen. This is your life-saving benefactor, De Yong. The child was pulled by his mother and immediately knelt to the ground. Chen Anan quickly picked up the child. Sister, please don't do this. The child has just finished illness and is still weak. I gave the child an injection and couldn't withstand the wind. I took the child back and asked him to rest well. I know, I listen to whatever you say. De Yongyang is already a bit incoherent at this moment. Chen Anan wrapped his own quilt around the child and asked Dayong's mother and neighbors to carry the child back first. After seeing off the person, Chen Anan sat down on the chair, looking at the two hot and fluffy dimples wrapped in a handkerchief in front of him. Chen Anan swallowed his saliva and wolfed it down. I took a bite and almost choked in my throat. After drinking several sips of water, I finally swallowed that mouthful of steamed bun. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. I don't know how to wash my hands anymore. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. I don't know how to wash my hands anymore. Chen Anan coughed for a moment and looked at the nest in his hand. This was completely different from the soft and sweet taste of the wawawatu she had imagined. The wawatu tasted very thick when bitten, and it tasted like sand when chewed in her mouth. Not at all sweet, dry and astringent, with a hint of bitterness. For a moment, the aroma of the nest no longer lingers. Chen Anan also knows that if he doesn't eat at this moment, he can only go hungry at night. This is 70 years old. Chen Anan gritted his teeth, sipping hot water while nibbling on his wawawatu. Force yourself to swallow. Tomorrow, no matter what, she will have to start a fire and cook by herself. Today she saw that there were also fine grains at home. Even the steamed mantu is better than the wawatu. Biting his teeth and eating down half of the clump, he heard a knock on the door from outside. Chen Anan glanced at the sky and now it was completely dark. Who can be unfamiliar with the place of life? Who is it? Dr. Chen, I'm Suifan, that's De Yong's mother. Open the door quickly. Chen Anan hurriedly went out to open the door. As soon as she opened the door, De Yongyang stuffed her neatly folded blanket over. This is a new blanket, you can't even cover it in time, so I'll cover it for my family Daong first. We can't help but understand etiquette, and Xiaochen, this is my freshly boiled egg. A little bit of goodwill. A warm bundle was stuffed into Chen Anan's arms, and it could be felt that it was a freshly cooked egg. Suifan's sister. Law, this is not acceptable. I don't need to keep the eggs for the child to supplement. Even if Chen Anan is not sensible, he knows that eggs are precious things in this era, and no one can bear to eat them. Don't push anymore. If you push again, my sister. Law will be angry. Alright, lock the door quickly and go back to sleep. If you need any help, just speak up. My house is the 8th in front, so don't feel embarrassed. After Suifan's sister. Law finished speaking, she hurriedly left, afraid that Chen Anan would push the eggs back for her. Anan sighed and saw that this was a simple person. She just did what she was supposed to do, but she wished she could take her heart out. Just as he was about to close the door, he met the door with a pair of jealous eyes. It's Xiao Zhao who almost got into a fight with De Yongyang today. I probably feel like someone caught me peeking. I snorted coldly. Humph. What kind of cat and dog are all worthy of being called doctors? They're not afraid of killing people. The door slammed shut. Chen Anan is a bit puzzled. Is there something wrong with the little Zhao across from him? They met for the first time and had no grudges or grievances, but judging from Xiao Zhao's expression, they were very hostile towards themselves. Chen Anan closed the door, brought things back to the house, and also closed the door inside. The weather is really cold, and the temperature drops faster after dark. Chen Anan carried some firewood into the room. Added some firewood to the earthen con. This time it's about being cautious. If even the house she lives in is on fire, she doesn't know how to defend herself from others. She's not sincere. The blanket was placed on the con, and the small bundle was opened, containing 10 eggs. It's warm, and those who watch it feel a bit warm in their hearts. Chen Anan gritted his teeth and couldn't even bring back the boiled eggs. Just treat yourself as if you have collected the diagnosis and treatment fee. Still unable to resist, I peeled an egg and ate it. Unexpectedly, this boiled egg tasted exceptionally delicious. The other eggs were wrapped and placed directly in the cabinet for later consumption. Chen Anan felt as if he had the temperament of a miser. After a tiring day, I really can't recover my energy at this moment. After a simple wash, Chen Anan fell into a deep sleep under the covers. In my sleep, I actually dream of washing my hands. In my dream, my sister Law stood up at me today and asked me to wash my hands again and again. Jin Dajuan looked at his lively son inside the house, and when his wife told him about what had happened today, he was frightened by the cold sweat on his back. Jin Dajuan gave birth to 2 daughters, only then did he have such a precious bump. The couple treated it as a pain in their heart, liver, and lungs. But since the child had this root cause, the couple has tried many ways but couldn't do anything about it. I heard in the team that the captain's lover is a girl from the city. I heard that he comes from a different background and looks down on us rural people like Xiao Zhao. I also heard that I have a bad relationship with the captain and have been causing a lot of trouble all day. I didn't expect it to be all nonsense. You can also believe what those old ladies say. I just saw that Dr. Chen is quite nice. You don't know that at that time, Xiao Zhao almost made me dizzy and farted. People can't compare to each other. Cuifan now cannot tolerate others saying that Chen Anan is not good. Alright, I know. If you have anything to do on weekdays, please help me a little. After all, Xiao Chen has just come from outside, so there has to be a process of adaptation. Jin Dajuan felt that he had to repay the captain's love. I'll tell you what. In the future, our son will have to rely on Xiao Chen for treatment, and I will confess Xiao Chen. I tell you, you also need to pay attention to your attitude in the future. When others say bad things about Xiao Chen, you have to help him. That's not possible. As a big man, I always help Xiao Chen. Others should say that Xiao Chen's style is a problem. Are you trying to make the captain feel uneasy? Upon hearing this, Cuifan crossed her waist and said, "Who dares to say something about Xiao Chen's style? I'll tear his mouth apart. If you don't look at you like that, how could Dr. Chen take a liking to you?" Jin Dajuan smiled, and his wife couldn't belittle him so much, could she? Alright, instead of helping Dr. Chen talk, let's do something practical. Starting tomorrow, I'll pack Dr. Chen's water and firewood. Upon hearing these words, Cuifan finally let go. Right. Dr. Chen was originally from the city and definitely can't handle these rough jobs. But why did I hear people say that Dr. Chen is from the countryside and others say that Dr. Chen is from the city? Is Dr. Chen from the countryside or from the city? I estimate that Dr. Chen is from the countryside. That's nonsense. You haven't seen Dr. Chen's appearance. A person with delicate skin and tender flesh, not like a rural worker. And I'll tell you, Dr. Chen's hand washing is not the same as ours. They have rules, that hand needs to be washed this way, that way, rubbed here, rubbed there. I'll tell you, I never knew in my life that I wouldn't even know how to wash my hands. This is just the stinky habit of city dwellers. It seems that some of the gossip circulating in the team is really true. Do you know what's really fake? I saw that Xiao Chen is a good person. Although he has a lot of bad habits, he is a good person. He refuses to save his life and rushes forward to save others. This is not a character that ordinary people can have. Oh my, I don't know who keeps talking nonsense all day. No one in our team likes the captain's wife, they all say she's not a good person. I can't control what others say. Anyway, if I can cure my son's illness here, that's a good person. Law, you are quite accurate in judging people, probably not wrong. The couple agreed on this matter. Anan slept soundly, but who knew that while she was sleeping, their household chores were all taken care of. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Rounded Up. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Rounded Up. Vice Captain Chow, who was facing the door, saw his wife lying in bed with a blanket covering her back to him as soon as he entered. You can tell at a glance that your daughter-in-law is angry again. What's wrong with Xiao Zhao? Who's making you angry again? My wife comes from a wealthy family, and I was able to marry her because my father-in-law had a crush on me. In fact, the father-in-law was originally interested in Captain Fu Huaiyan of the opposite sect. But who knew that Fu Huaiyan had already gotten married after visiting his relatives at home? Only by seeking second place can it fall on oneself. He knows that Zhao Xiaoya looks down on him. Devoted himself wholeheartedly to Fu Huaiyan. Unfortunately, Fu Huaiyan has a daughter-in-law, which is also the most proud part of Chao Jiangwo. Some people are born with good luck. He is. But Chao Jiangwo really likes Zhao Xiaoya. To be able to marry a highly educated and beautiful daughter from a high-ranking family, for a man from a rural background like Chao Jiangwo, it would take a lot of incense to achieve such a wish. Zhao Xiaoya is always accommodating and giving in to her own wife. Why did Fu Huaiyan marry such a woman when he was blind? Zhao Xiaoya was furious but suddenly flipped over and sat up. Chao Jiangwo was stunned for a moment, looked up at the courtyard across from him, and found that there was actually light in the window across from him. My heart immediately blossomed with joy. When he knew that Fu Huaiyan's house was located across from him, he still had a vague concern in his heart. I'm worried that Zhao Xiaoya and Fu Huaiyan may have other thoughts when they meet every day. It seems that Fu Huaiyan's daughter-in-law has finally arrived. Captain Fu's wife has arrived today. Why is she very ugly, or is she a rural woman? Chao Jiangwo finally felt relieved, even his voice soothing his wife became softer. Anyway, I'm not a good person. Zhao Xiaoya couldn't go against her heart and say that Chen Anan was ugly. The main reason is that Chen Anan's appearance, not to mention being a fox spirit, is not bad. How could he be ugly? If you don't like her, don't interact with her, it's okay. Let's live our lives. By the way, haven't we had dinner yet? What do you want to eat? I'll make it for you. Zhao Xiaoya was so frustrated that she couldn't even eat it. I won't eat. It's not worth your anger because of this. You should eat and drink. The platoon leader hasn't come back, probably because he doesn't want to see his wife. Upon hearing these words, Zhao Xiaoya's eyes immediately lit up again. She could never let Fu Huai down. Chen Anan didn't know that because of his arrival, he was able to make the woman across from him so angry that he couldn't eat. The next day before dawn, I was awakened by the wake-up call. Chen Anan looked outside through the slightly illuminated window, but it was not yet dawn. I raised my hand and glanced at the watch, but was startled. It wasn't even dawn yet, but now it's almost 10 o'clock. What is the situation? Chen Anan didn't know that in this place, it usually takes 9-10 a.m. for dawn and 10 p.m. for darkness. I will gradually realize that there are still some differences between the environment here and where she lives in the future. However, lying under the blanket, I was also trembling. At night, the fire should have gone out. She is not good at cooking this kind of earthen stove at all. She filled in that little firewood yesterday. It was warm in the first half of the night, but it gradually cooled down in the second half of the night. At this moment, it feels even colder in the room. Chen Anan rubbed his hands and feet under the blanket, although he didn't remember, he still forced himself to get up. At the moment when I came out of the blanket, I felt like people were freezing through, and the room was like an ice cellar. I sneezed twice and quickly put on my cotton jacket and pants. Wearing clothes on one's body actually makes it cooler. Chen Anan had just woken up when he heard a knocking on the door outside. I didn't expect to come to a strange place where people haven't fully recognized each other yet, and there are occasional visits. Who is it? Dr. Chen, I'm Jean Dajuan. I'll come and fetch water for you. Chen Anan was stunned for a moment and picked up water. Yes, it seems that all the water here needs to be picked up from the well. Hurriedly put on his shoes, buttoned up his clothes, and ran out with a chicken coop head to open the door. Jean Dajuan looked at Dr. Shen's messy hair and a silly smile appeared on his face. Perhaps it was because his wife had said so many good things in advance yesterday, which was a bit preconceived. He didn't feel as bad as Dr. Shen described to the outside world when he looked at him. Dr. Shen looks like a neighbor's sister. Dr. Shen, it's cold outside. Hurry inside and I'll fill the water tank for you. From now on, I'll hand over your firewood and water to you. At first glance, Dr. Shen doesn't seem like a villager like his own wife. This delicate and weak appearance really makes Dr. Shen go to fetch water, which is probably a big show. These thin arms and legs, how could they carry such a heavy pole? Jean Dajuan suddenly felt that he was really smart. The ways in which daughter.in.law repays kindness cannot be more touching than this. He's just a rough person doing some physical work, it's nothing at all, as long as Dr. Shen can cure his son well. Even if he chooses water and chops firewood for a lifetime for Dr. Shen, he is willing to do so. Chen Anan felt a bit uneasy and touched his hair, but he hadn't had time to tidy it up yet. Being messy is not her style, but she can't care about it now. Lao Jean, actually not necessary. Just tell me where to fetch water and I'll go by myself. Chen Anan is not used to taking advantage of others. Dr. Shen, don't be polite to me. Even if you don't treat my son, for the sake of the captain, should still help with this job. You just arrived, you're not familiar with the place of life and don't know anything. Leave these things to me. Chen Anan hesitated for a moment. In fact, sometimes understanding the feelings of the patient's family members, if one does not accept these good intentions, it feels like they do not have the heart to treat others. The family is seeking peace of mind. Okay, Comrade Jean, thank you then. Brother Jean, can I ask you something? Upon hearing this, Jean Dajuan immediately became happy. He was most afraid that Dr. Shen would not want the two of them to help. What's going on? Don't mention one thing, 10 or 8 things are not a problem. I just want my sister.in.law to come and teach me how to make a fire. I don't know how to make this kind of earthen stove. Chen Anan naturally knew that when he came, he had to follow the local customs. If he didn't learn how to make this fire, he might not even be able to eat in the future. Besides, I also have to wash my face and brush my teeth, all of which require hot water. Using cold water can be bone-piercing now. Upon hearing this, Jean Dajuan couldn't help but laugh. Dr. Shen, what is this? I'll go back and call my Cuifan. The pole is leaning against the wall, making a fuss and rushing home. Cuifan got up and was busy in the kitchen, while her own man went to fetch water and chop wood for Dr. Shen. She was planning to send away the men and children from her family and went to see Dr. Shen if there was anything she could do to help. Dr. Shen just arrived at home yesterday and there must be many places in need of support. The child's father, why did you come back so quickly? What happened? You didn't make water, Dr. Shen didn't allow you to make water. Not to mention that Chen Anan's thoughts were indeed correct, Cuifan couldn't help but feel a bit anxious when she saw her man coming back. If Dr. Shen doesn't let them help, what if Dr. Shen doesn't want to see his son? What are you thinking? Let's go, hurry up and visit Dr. Shen's house. Dr. Shen doesn't know how to start a fire, so let's go teach her. Jin Dajuan was somewhat proud, and Dr. Shen didn't know how to start a fire, which gave them a place to be useful. Dr. Shen is a doctor who does not know how to make a fire, as is natural. Those hands are used to treat illnesses and save people, not to start a fire. Upon hearing this, Suifen's eyes immediately lit up. Okay, you go fetch water first, I'll go there immediately. Rub your hand on the apron, take off the apron, stroke your hair, and then walk over. They all know about Dr. Shen almost lighting up the house yesterday, and now there's nothing unknown in the entire team. Captain Fu's wife has become a joke in people's mouths. As soon as I entered the yard, I saw Dr. Shen holding firewood and preparing to enter the stove. Chen Anan has already combed his hair, tied it into 2 small braids, and looks like that beautiful and quiet girl again. But it's still the same as yesterday, fully armed. Suifen hurriedly walked over. Xiaoshen, why are you in a hurry? I'll do it when I come. I reached out and took the firewood from her arms. Entered the kitchen with great enthusiasm. Teach Chen Anan how to start a fire while directing him to pull the bellows. If you don't learn to cook this earthen stove, Dr. Shen and Captain Fu may not even be able to eat in the future. Suifen's sister. Law, I didn't expect that making a fire is still a discipline. Chen Anan is learning quite quickly. I also personally got started and specialized in operating it, gradually being able to grasp the rhythm of the wind box. I felt a sense of accomplishment as I watched the water in the pot steaming hot. Sister-in-law, thank you. If there's anything I don't understand in the future, I'll go ask you for advice. Suifen's face smiled as if a flower had bloomed. Okay, if there's anything you can do in the future, just go ahead and shout at me. What's this all about? By the way, I noticed that there isn't even a single dish in your kitchen. Captain Fu was careless and didn't prepare it for you. There's nothing to do after dinner in a while. I'll take you to our supply and marketing cooperative to take a look. We come back here once a week with fresh vegetables. Not too much, not too much. Today happens to be the day. I'm not sure if we can meet. Upon hearing this, Chen Anan hurriedly said, Sister-in-law, come over and call me later. I'll go take a look with you. Vegetables still need to be arranged, although there may not be many fresh vegetables in winter, it is better than nothing. Suifen looked at her clothes and couldn't help but burst out laughing, look at you, you can really make a fool of yourself. Chen Anan just lowered his head to see his strange outfit and couldn't help but chuckle. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Robbery. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Robbery. Chen Anan boiled water to wash his face and brush his teeth, and then poured new hot water into the thermos. This operation finally made her understand how much household chores her parents had. I made breakfast for myself again. There were no dishes, I simply made a lump soup with white flour. There is only a taste of salt, not even fragrant oil. Chen Anan peeled 2 more eggs from yesterday and put them directly into the hot soup. Even the salt-flavored white noodle soup tastes very sweet, much stronger now than yesterday when there was nothing hot in the mouth. Eating soup and water makes the entire cold stomach feel comfortable. Chen Anan felt like he had finally come to life as a whole. Pack up the pots and bowls at home. I wanted to steam some mantou, but now there is no yeast for mantou. It seems that there are still many things to consult with Mrs. Suifen. Although she was a renowned medical genius and top surgical director in her previous life, Chen Anan here is just an outsider in daily life. Everything has to start from scratch. I just checked and there are still quite a few things missing. Leaving aside the lack of vegetables and seasoning in the kitchen, I also lack a lot of things myself. The soap for washing clothes and the washboard have nothing. You don't have to think about washing machines anymore. In this era, you know it's absolutely impossible for such things to exist. Hand washing clothes will be the norm in the future. In addition to soap, the washboard also requires soap, shampoo, and so on. There are not many bathing conditions in this place. But Chen Anan loves cleanliness. If he doesn't wash for a day, his body will itch. Last night, I barely made do. I just washed my face and feet. But if she doesn't wash her hair today, Chen Anan thinks she might not be able to bear it. Fortunately, in no time, Mrs. Cuifen warmly greeted her outside. "Xiao Chen, let's go." Chen Anan locked the door. The key doesn't have a keychain, so I can only casually carry it in my pocket. Chen Anan suspected that if the action was a bit too big, the key would fall out. Only after leaving the yard did I see that it was not only Mrs. Cuifen, but also several women following behind her to look at their faces, ranging in age. But when I saw Chen Anan, his attitude was very cold. There are two faces that are very familiar. They should have helped Chen Anan's house yesterday. When I saw Chen Anan, I finally gave him a smiling face. "Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen." The place where these family members live is still a bit far from their actual workplace. It usually takes half an hour to walk 2 miles away from hygiene. It's inconvenient to have a headache and a hot head. But yesterday I heard that Captain Fu's lover actually knows medical skills. They all immediately had a thought: as long as someone ate grains and miscellaneous grains, they would inevitably have a headache, so they would probably request to come to their door in the future. Besides, it can be inferred from Cuifen's mouth that this little Chen has some flaws, but he also has true abilities. Don't be fooled by her small appearance, like a spoiled young lady in the city, but being able to see a doctor is her skill. Chen Anan couldn't show any enthusiasm and could only try to make himself smile. In fact, this smile does make people look a bit eerie. It's better not to laugh. "Hello sister.in.law, I'm new here and I don't know anyone. I can't remember everyone's names. If you call me the wrong name, don't mind, sister.in.law. She is usually a professor who holds a high position and receives state subsidies. Don't flatter anyone intentionally. Maintain a distance when dealing with patients, and most of the colleagues around you are her subordinates or her students. I have become accustomed to this serious attitude." But when everyone heard her words, although they were pleasant, her expression was a bit cold and distant. Everyone has a bit of a cold shoulder. After all, most random family members are from rural areas. Chen Anan's attitude seems a bit contemptuous. "Xiao Chen, we don't mind. What's wrong with this? Just call it the wrong way." Cuifen's sister.in.law hurriedly reconciled the situation. After spending the whole morning together, she knew that Dr. Chen in front of her was just this person. "Alright, Cuifen, let's hurry up and queue up. If we go late, we won't be able to buy anything." Everyone digress from the topic. The rumors and gossip circulating in the team have almost turned Chen Anan into a shame for Captain Fu. Many people still cannot bear to see Chen Anan, who is so indifferent and disrespectful. Everyone made up their minds to maintain face. Chen Anan walked in the queue, but no one spoke to her. Cuifen's sister. In.law couldn't bear to see her, so she took her arm and walked with her. When she arrived at the supply and marketing cooperative, Cuifen's sister.in.law warmly introduced Chen Anan. This side sells side dishes, while that side sells fabrics and daily necessities. Chen Anan looked at the supply and marketing cooperative, which is the legendary one. She was born in a time when she could no longer see this thing. Those only exist in historical materials or TV dramas. Now we have seen the real supply and marketing cooperative. In everyone's eyes, the supply and marketing cooperatives are already considered to have complete products, more complete than those in their county. But in Chen Anan's eyes, these things are really too few, basically nothing to ask for. She is missing too many things. At this moment, I couldn't be picky at all, so I had to pick up some that looked good and buy some. I bought a piece of soap and a box of shampoo. I bought 2 more towels and a basin. When she was about to buy soap, she was stopped by Mrs. Cuifen next to her and whispered to her. Don't buy soap. They distribute it in the army every month, 5 yuan at a time. Although Captain Fu is not here, let Lao Jin retrieve it for him and bring it to you. Chen Anan finally realized that her cheap husband was also a secure job, and his welfare benefits were good. I took a look at the side food counter here. People have been huddled together. People are crowding, just like overlapping. Watching Mrs. Cuifen roll up her sleeves and go into battle, she plunged her head in. Of course, the strong physique that was squeezed out of shape upon entering, Chen Anan looked at his small physique and decided to stay outside honestly. But she wanted to stay honest, and Cuifen's sister-in-law wouldn't let her either. Xiao Chen, come quickly. Line up ahead of me. Mrs. Cuifen's voice sounded like thunder. The ones who squeezed ahead with Cuifen's sister-in-law, as well as the ones who came with her. Forget it, look at Xiao Chen's physique. Today we have cabbage, potatoes, and carrots. No matter how late, there won't be any of these things. Surprisingly, there are tofu and vermicelli. Everyone is busy selecting their own things. Cuifen, however, was a bit anxious. She couldn't control what others were doing, but her son's illness still needed to be treated by Dr. Chen. Qiao quickly pushed Dr. Chen forward. Before Chen Anan could refuse, someone inexplicably pushed Chen Anan from behind. Damn it! There is no conspiracy theory, pure enthusiasm. A woman forcefully pushed Chen Anan in from behind with her strong physique. Xiao Chen. I'll help you. Chen Anan felt that the bones were almost crushing. Heart said she doesn't need your help. Unfortunately, I can't say it at all, I'm almost out of breath. I only realized in this lifetime what it means to rely solely on robbery when buying things in this era. She completely didn't understand what her parents had said, and only then did she realize that in this era of supply shortage, it's impossible to buy things without squeezing. An hour later, Chen Anan was forcefully pulled and pushed out of the crowd by her two sister-in-law, otherwise she wouldn't have been able to get out even if she were squeezed inside. Fortunately, I held a bunch of things in my arms, including a big cabbage and a small bag of potatoes. There were about 10 potatoes in that bag. There are also 2 white radishes, 2 red radishes, plus a piece of tofu and a bunch of noodles. These are all supplied by quantity, and it's not possible to buy more. Looking at the crushed tofu, Chen Anan looked helpless. It seems that her days in the future will really be a bit tumultuous. Cuifen's sister-in-law glanced at the broken tofu in her hand, then at Chen Anan's disheveled appearance, with a strand of hair standing proudly on top of her head, and her braids loose and scattered. I couldn't help but burst into laughter. Dr. Chen gave people a calm, rational, and powerful feeling from the first sight, and finally felt a bit grounded. Truly like the family members here. Chen Anan looked at the several sister-in-law laughing back and forth, and then looked at their expressions. They looked as if they had been robbed, and couldn't help but laugh. When the first hearty laughter burst out from the corner of my mouth, I suddenly felt that the bystanders' attitude towards this world, which I didn't recognize in my heart, was completely shattered. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. No money. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. No money. After this shopping experience, Chen Anan truly integrated into this collective. Back home, she asked Sister Cuifen how to steam mantou. Sister Cuifen sent an old face to Chen Anan. Steaming mantou these days is inseparable from old noodles and alkaline noodles. Fermented powder does not exist. Chen Anan misses the convenience of modern life a bit. But it's all in vain to think about it. Chen Anan realized that from the beginning until now, no matter what he thought, there has been no golden finger. This proves that there is no golden finger. They all have a spatial system or something, but we don't have anything here. Perhaps the only golden finger is that she is already an experienced and accomplished top surgeon. Lao Mian Fa Mian is really a technical job. Soak the old noodles in warm water first, not too much water. It's best to place it near the stove and heat it up. After a night of fermentation, it emits a sour taste, which can be mixed with flour and kneaded into a dough for secondary fermentation. The time should not be too long, or the mantu will taste bad if it is fermented too much. It usually takes half a day to mix the flour again, and some alkaline noodles need to be added. The amount of alkaline noodles should be controlled. It needs to be vigorously rubbed. Chen Anan knew that mantu made of hair flour was so complicated that she doubted life. It's more complicated than performing a complex surgical procedure for her. We still need a combination of physical and mental strength, and one cannot be lacking. The kneading action made Mrs. Tsuifan laugh more than once. Chen Anan finally made an appearance under the guidance of Mrs. Tsuifan's professor. At noon, I steamed a pot of mantu with noodles. At the moment when the lid of the pot was opened, Chen Anan was suspicious of life. The yellow and hard thing with an inexpressible smell was mantu. Taking a bite, Chen Anan felt like crying. This is clearly a stone, but it still has a strange odor. When Tsuifan saw it, she almost didn't smile and bent down. She also took those stones away and sent her the same amount of mantu. And those hard mantu-like stones all got into Jin Dajuan's stomach. Jin Dajuan suffered indigestion because he ate mantu that was as hard as stone. By the time the second pot of stone-like mantu was delivered to his home, Jin Dajuan had begun to doubt life. When he went to the team for lunch, he brought a full 5 lunch boxes. Smiling, he stuffed one in front of each of his old friends sitting together in the detachment. I came specifically to give gifts today. The captain has gone out to do a task, but you all know that the captain's wife, Comrade Xiao Chen, has arrived. She is too polite. Give us some food as a gift, this is for everyone. You all share the points. Oh my, captain's wife is not someone who has heard of being delicate and even washing her hands to make a fuss. I guess the food she eats must be made very well. Then I'll have to taste it. A few people are competing with each other, each holding a lunch box in their arms. Jin Dajuan silently picked up the prepared lunch box and walked away quickly without touching the ground. A burst of exclamation came from behind. Oh, what is this thing? How do I look at this black blackberry? It looks a bit like a stone. Come on, this is a badly steamed mantu with alkaline noodles. Jin Dajuan's footsteps quickened. Oh my mother, Jin Dajuan, don't run away, you damn kid. This bastard is playing tricks on us. Jin Dajuan has run away without a trace. The next day, when Chen Anan went out to pour out dirty water, he saw a woman outside the door glaring at him fiercely. Dr. Chen, you can't steam mantu yourself. Can you stop harming other people's men? What? Chen Anan is confused. What did she do? I told you that the mantu you steamed wasted food and cost people. Look at my man, because he ate the mantu you steamed yesterday. Direct indigestion and stomach ache all night at this moment, with a fierce momentum in the distance, for more sister.in.law approached. Dr. Chen, my man has been suffering from yesterday to today. What do you think he should do? It's all your mantu. You must tell us something, right? Chen Anan quietly returned to the room and poured out a bottle of disinfectant pills. That's when she and Mrs. Tsuifan went to the team's chicken farm. I begged my grandfather to tell my grandmother and ask them to buy a chicken made with gold inside. Xiao Chen, I think it's better to forget about steaming mantu. Let's not learn it. You're really not made of it. Tsuifan's sister.in.law couldn't persuade Chen Anan in a single word. Little Shen Chen's reputation in the team is unknown what it has been rumored to be. There is nothing to say now. Although Tsuifan knows who Chen Anan is, she can't say more than a few hundred words with just one mouth. Chen Anan looked at the result of wasting more than half of the bag of flour to dry, and also put an end to it. It's true that there is a specialization in the craft industry. She can't play with Mantu. Chen Anan silently bowed his flag and stopped beating his drums. Fortunately, Sister.in.law Tsuefan is a good person. Usually, as long as her family steams steamed buns and Mantu, she will send 2 to Chen Anan. From this point of view, Chen Anan is particularly grateful to Sister Tsuefan. If it weren't for Mrs. Tsuefan, she would probably be hanging noodles every day. I can't roll noodles or steam Mantu. Needless to say, it's good to stir-fry vegetables, but if it's salty or weak, it's fatalistic. Tsuefan's Sister.in.law couldn't help but smirk bitterly as she looked at Chen Anan, who was covering her face with a lid and holding a shovel in the other hand. Captain Fu is really hard-working. Marrying such a daughter.in.law would really bring back a living ancestor. If it weren't for knowing that Xiao Qin'er has excellent medical skills, I probably wouldn't have looked up to Chen Anan myself. Besides having a good face. It's simply what everyone on the farm says is worthless. Chen Anan looked at the grain notebook in his hand and felt a little worried. Every month is a fixed amount of grain. Buying white noodles, she doesn't know how to make rice when she comes back. If she buys hanging noodles, she doesn't have a ticket. Fu Huaiyan left her money and food vouchers, which she had only spent more than a month on. The main issue is that there are too many things missing at home, and there are many things that need to be rearranged. In addition, in terms of food, Fu Huaiyan prepared quite a lot of food, but Chen Anan didn't know how to make it. The only thing Chen Anan has learned now is to cook dried noodles and poached eggs. Boil at most 2 vegetables in the noodle soup. Everything else is for your own good. Their household's consumption of noodles is the highest, so the little money on hand is definitely not enough to support it. Chen Anan stared at Liang Ben with a bit of worry and decided to find a way to earn some money. I have no income. If Fu Huaiyan doesn't come back again, is it difficult for him to starve to death? She is not the kind of person who reaches out to ask others for money. After giving Daong an injection that day, Daong returned early and left Tsuefan's Sister.in.law to chat with her. Sister-in-law, can you find any job that can earn money for our family here? Even temporary workers can do it. She really doesn't know who to look for besides Tsuefan. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Finding Jobs. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Finding Jobs. Are you running out of money now? I have long advised you not to be so extravagant. Every time you go to the cooperative to buy things, you buy more. Do you know that our team is spreading rumors that Captain Fu's wife is lazy and lazy? Chen Anan felt a bit helpless upon hearing these words, but she had to admit that at this moment, she had to carry the blame. If there is a takeout or a restaurant here, I wouldn't be so miserable. She also wanted to go to the cafeteria for a meal, but after going several times, she found out that she didn't have the meal ticket from Fu Huaiyan. She couldn't even afford to buy food when she went to the cafeteria. She really has no other choice but to run to the supply and marketing agency, but once she goes to the agency, this is not an elevator room in the future. Perhaps everyone doesn't care about the lifestyle of their neighbors. Even if you say something in the yard here, you can hear it next door. When I went to the supply and marketing cooperative to buy big and small items, the neighbors around me were all staring at me. Basically, Chen Anan has solidified the reputation of this despicable woman. Because no one in the family has ever seen someone buy things like this before. Egg noodles, pot cakes, peaches, and pastries are all brought home. The most important thing is that Chen Anan lives here alone, and Captain Fu has not returned. A woman eats all good food at home and buys all ready-made items. What is not being lazy and lazy? Looking at Chen Anan's slightly uncomfortable expression, Tsuefan's Sister.in.law was a bit thoughtful. Actually, she knows who Chen Anan is. Chen Anan is a bit inexperienced in cooking. She steamed the mantu with alkaline noodles, which made several people in the canteen suffer from stomach problems. In fact, they also understand that Chen Anan doesn't want to cook, and the food she cooked can take her to the hospital. But you have to learn even if you don't know how to do it. This year, there is no saying that you don't know how to do it. Sister-in-law, you actually know my hands, and I don't know why it's okay to do something else. Whenever I cook, I have problems. Even if I have some means, I can't go from poverty like this. In fact, I don't want to go to the supply and marketing cooperative to buy those things. I always eat egg noodles, which makes me uncomfortable myself, but I don't know how to make anything else. Sister-in-law, please help me. Anyway, Chen Anan has already figured out Cui Fan's temperament. Cui Fan's wife is a good person. So you can say anything. Although Cui Fan's sister-in-law is uneducated, she is definitely a warm-hearted person with a loud voice, a soft heart and a hard mouth. A typical knife-mouthed tofu heart. Otherwise, you can't send mantu, steamed stuffed buns and flour rolls to yourself every other time. Whenever their family eats something good, they can always catch up with it themselves. Chen Anan thinks he can change his name to Zhao Anan. Vice Captain Fu has not returned. If Captain Fu comes back, there should be no problem arranging a job for you according to Captain Fu's level. But he hasn't come back yet, and we don't know what Captain Fu has arranged for you. Okay, let me inquire for you. Most of the women here either go to the match factory to paste match boxes or go to the canning factory to be responsible for peeling people. You can also paste the envelope. But these don't make much money. There are also those who make more money, but you can't do that job. The transportation team has to carry big bags, but not many women can bear that punishment. If you go down to work, I don't think you can do it either, so even Chen Anan feels like a waste. Which of my sister-in-law's 3 jobs of pasting envelopes, pasting paper boxes, and peeling earns more? People are poor and have short aspirations. He can only change his profession with these hands. Now she says she is a doctor and can directly treat people's illnesses. Who believes that? Cui Fan's sister-in-law hesitated for a moment. She also knew that Chen Anan's hands were definitely not for these jobs, but if she wanted to survive here, women had to think of their own ways. Captain Fu has not returned, and Chen Anan has no money on hand, so he can only find a solution on his own. As a temporary worker, only the one who peels fruits earns more from these 3, but peeling fruits requires going to a processing plant. Can't take it home. The cardboard boxes and envelopes can be brought home for work, but they earn less. Cui Fan's sister-in-law, could you help me introduce the work of peeling fruits at the processing factory? I'm not familiar with the place, and I don't know who to talk to about it. Cui Fan's sister-in-law sighed, I don't need to say anything, I'm just doing this fruit peeling job. I'll tell our team leader that this fruit peeling job is all temporary work, and even formal workers don't appreciate it. Introducing a temporary worker is not a big deal. Wait for my letter at home, I'll go talk to our team leader first. If possible, I'll come find you to work together. Chen Anan immediately showed a shallow smile. I have to admit, at this point, even a fruit peeling job makes her feel a bit relieved. It's hard to defeat a hero with just 1 penny. Sister-in-law, thank you very much. Without your help these days, I would probably starve to death here. Chen Anan is sincerely grateful. If it weren't for the chance encounter with Cui Fan's sister-in-law who came here, she wouldn't even be able to start a fire at this moment. You see, you said that living people can still be suffocated by urine. That's why I want to thank you. God sent you here, and our family is much better now. Even the child can feel it on their own, not only that they haven't been sick, but also that their body has been much more relaxed recently. Sister-in-law, it's up to you to trust me. You're not unaware, I'm just a local doctor. This is a traditional craft passed down from family. As a doctor, patients should have the right to know, and she made it clear to Mrs. Cui Fan in advance. After all, the original owner himself does not have medical qualifications. Speaking of which, this is called illegal medical practice. Fortunately, the qualifications of doctors are not so strict this year. Even a graduate from a health school can directly become a doctor. Relatively speaking, the regulations are relatively relaxed, and many rural doctors who used to be barefoot later became doctors. Regardless of whether it is inherited from family or not, a white cat or a black cat catching a mouse is a good cat. Anyway, you cured my family's bravery, and I still recognize that Chen Anan is somewhat grateful to Sister Tsuefen. Sister Tsuefen is a sincere person, and her trust in her because she saved her son is simply touching. Sister-in-law, don't worry, I can cure Daiyong's illness. As a doctor, I generally cannot say such 100% words, but as for her, I still have this confidence. At least we used to be a nationally renowned doctor, and her Chen's 13 needles were once very famous, treating many difficult and complicated diseases. Chen Shirsan's name was also created by her. It was once regarded as a myth. After all, the magical combination of traditional Chinese medicine and Western medicine has amazed many people. Many foreign leaders and high-ranking officials regard her as a guest of honor because her medical skills can be considered to turn corruption into magic. End of this chapter.